I have here with me Mr. Ashish Gupta, who is founder of Cougar Motorsport. You have been doing a lot of off-roader events involving mainly SUVs. How do you convince the manufacturers to participate? How does these event helps them to translate into higher sales? What are the advantage of such events?
See, increasingly the market is becoming very competitive. There are a lot of products for the consumer to choose from, and you have to bring out key differentiating factors. In a highly competitive environment such as motorsport, you can demonstrate a lot of features of those vehicles, not only their build quality, their durability, their ability to perform under extreme conditions, which essentially help to develop the brand, develop the market for that particular product, and sometimes influences the consumer's decision to buy a vehicle which he doesn't need to compete in with himself, but he's seen it, he's heard of it, he's seen how that vehicle's been performing in various competitions, and that just makes that little difference. It probably is like the tagline which MRF has been using for a number of years, saying the tires we race are the tires you buy. Essentially saying that these are the same tires we use in racing competitions, so they're really good, and that's why you should buy them. So there have been some manufacturers who've taken a cue from this and taken a dominant sort of interest in it. For example, Maruti Suzuki, which for the last 15 years has been running some of India's major motorsport competitions.
How much does participation in a motorsport influence buyers, real consumers?
Well, I can probably quote.
Do they believe that the vehicle is better because it participated in certain motorsport, or what, how does it increase the acceptability? Do you have any fact or figure that you could?
Well, I think the proof of the pudding is clearly in the fact that manufacturers who come forward and have been associated with motorsport have continued to do that for over a decade now. It involves serious money to support and to get into motorsport, and if it wasn't making sense for them and wasn't resulting in brand building and in better sales, they would have not continued with it, and more of them have been coming into it now. For example, Volkswagen has the Polo Cup, Toyota has the Etios Cup, and Maruti Suzuki runs some of the most iconic motorsport events in India. Even in our case, when we brought Rainforest Challenge to India, Force Motors Limited from Pune came forward, and they took on the title sponsorship of Rainforest Challenge India. And in the last 2 years, we think it has benefited them significantly. It has not only been an excellent test ground for them to develop their own vehicle. They're launching a completely revamped new vehicle later this year, which has been based on their experience and learnings in the last 2 years of what people want, what competitors want, what the end users want. So they've come closer to the community which buys these vehicles. They've managed to test them in the actual event, and they've built a brand by associating with.
If we look at traditional medium of branding, marketing, or reaching out to consumers, customers, how do you rank motorsports in terms of investment versus turnaround?
Motorsport is expensive, and there has been a challenge of generating eyeballs as well. A prominent billboard at the international airport probably is easier to justify in terms of ROI. You can always see that footfall in the airport was X, and I spent this much on the billboard, and so it translates into a per eyeball cost of buying. In motorsport, it is a bit intangible. You cannot really exactly measure. There's always a question as to how many people did we manage to reach, and how did we amplify it versus a static hoarding. That was your question. But it's while it cannot be counted, but there are various ways in which manufacturers have managed to amplify it. So there's the actual audience on the ground, and then through various medium, PR, through media, they've amplified, released various events around it. So it takes a bit of convincing initially, but for those manufacturers who tried it, they've not moved back from it. And we're seeing the same thing with Force, who's been with us now. This is their 3rd year.
So currently, how many manufacturers have come to your kitty?
To my kitty, we are very closely associated with Force Motors because of Rainforest Challenge. They come on board and they sponsor the whole event. And they also participate. They have teams who come and drive their vehicles in the event. Other than that, we are handling not motorsport really, but we're handling off-road driving experiences for Land Rover, all their off-roading driving experiences and expeditions in India. We are handling driving expeditions for Renault for their Duster. They have a community called the Gangs of Dusters, and we help them. We just finished an event where they drove from Bombay to Daman, did some adventure track activity on the way, and came back.
So how many manufacturers are there? How many?
In our associated with Cougar Motorsport, well, as of now, actively we are handling 3, which is Renault, Land Rover, and Force. But this keeps changing every now and then. Because some of them have a calendar where they want to run events throughout the year. Some of them want to do one-offs. Some vehicle is being launched, etc. So
In last 7 years, how the journey has been? Motorsport has not been so famous, no popularity in India. So how have you been able to convince, and where do you see it moving forward?
well, it's you're right that it's not reached that level as internationally. But then the good thing is that most global manufacturers are in India, and they have experience of what their overseas teams have done or have been doing in various markets. And the same practices, same experiences, it's bound to come to the Indian market. So it's only that they're probably just waiting to see whether it justifies the investment. Once they reach that particular scale in terms of number of units sold, or the market becomes big enough for them, then the same events that they are partnering internationally, you'll see all of them on the same level of activity happening here.
What is the current size of the motorsport market in India in terms of value, and how do you look at it?
Motorsport is really huge and vast. There's track racing, there's cross-country events, there's off-roading, and then there are all fun events.
Overall,
etc. I was to put a number to it in terms of the total amount spent in India on motorsport, and you're taking into account sponsorships, participation fees, and everything included. I would say something like 40 to 50 crores. One event can make a huge change sometimes. If Formula One came back, that's a hundreds of crores event. So suddenly the whole space, it changes. When I'm talking about 40 to 50
No,
crores,
for
I'm not
you,
taking
branded
Formula One.
events like that I'm talking about. So such event, are people really serious about it? Are they taking motorsport seriously, the manufacturers?
Yes, they are, absolutely. I mean, if I was to take an example of Land Rover, we started working with them 2 years ago. In 2 years, we've handled 18 events for them. This year, they have a calendar which they've shared with us where they have an aim of doing an
Why
event
not
every
others
month.
like Mahindra and all they are?
They're all
on board?
doing,
but
but not
with different-
not with Cougar Motorsport. Mahindra has a very active presence in this space. They've got Bijoy, who's from the media industry previously. He heads up a division called Mahindra Adventure. They run events throughout the year in-house, so they have an in-house team doing that. We are essentially catering to manufacturers who do not have a full-time in-house team to do this for them.
So how is your business progressing in the last 7 years? What is your revenue right now? How do you look at
So
it?
yes, it's that's a question I can answer easily. It's been very tough to find our space, to get manufacturers to commit to do our own events and make them add up and sustainable. But we've survived 7 years. We've done, as I said, 80 events now. Our revenues in the first year were insignificant, somewhere in the 10 to 15 lakh rupee range. Last year's revenues were 3.5 crores. It's not, where we would like them
And
to
what
be.
kind of profit margin?
We are
Because-
profitable. We are profitable. We are a debt-free company. We've survived. The last few years for startups in India have been extremely tough. We've survived. We are profitable, but I don't think it's fair for me to talk about margins because they're not really reflective of what is possible. What we've done in the last 7 years is we've invested heavily into building more IPs, more brands, bringing Rainforest Challenge to India, now launching India 4x4 week. If all that money we were just saving up, and so we would probably have significant margin to
Every
show you.
startup has gone through some ups and downs. In last 7 years, any decision or any event that you regret, or what are the best thing to had happened to you so
Okay, in terms of challenges, I would not say regret. They're all learnings. In terms of challenges, what happens in this space is that unless you have your own events, mostly if your revenue model is not dominated by your own revenue, own events which you control, when you do events for others, you're dependent on them in terms of what their plans are going to be going forward. In a particular year, they may end up doing 20 events with you, and then the next year they may have plans to do none. It's very difficult to plan resources, bandwidth, employees, and everything ahead, taking into account this kind of variability. We had a situation
Volatility,
that in 2012 where we did 24 events in a year for Tata Motors. And when we started so aggressively in 2012, we were all very confident that this is a sustainable program and it's going to run for a couple of years. We invested in a lot of people, machine equipment, vehicles. And in 2013, there was a major change which happened at the company level. The employees were changed, direction was changed, management changed. And they decided that they want to spend the same money on a couple of television shows and other
So do you plan to come up with your own flagship program or an event where people can come and participate?
We are already doing that. I think we have to do more of that.
Yeah,
Our
so
Himalayan
bigger
Dash,
scale.
our Desert Dash, even the Rainforest Challenge is
So
a step towards that.
Are you planning to move out of off-roading? Because mostly your events are only on the off-roading
Oh no,
events.
why would I do that? I have developed a core competence in off-roading. We are the only, I would say, company in India.
So you don't
which
wish to diversify or expand into
no, it's a niche where we now span expertise right from very sophisticated, luxurious off-roading events which we run for a manufacturer like Land Rover, to extreme off-roading events like Rainforest Challenge. No one has that kind of breadth of experience, and so that is a niche we'd rather try to be another person organizing a rally, another person organizing a race, another person organizing a TSD. We've tried those forms, but we found the space where, and off-roading is growing exponentially. It is one of
How
the
do you expect your business to grow in the next few years in terms of percentage?
Well, I have a target in mind that by the time I'm 50, I want my company turnover to be upwards of 10 crores. But every year there are a lot of factors.
Turnover of 10
10 crores.
What is your current revenue?
Last year's revenue was 3.5 crores.
So 10 crore of profit?
10 crores of revenue.
Okay.
We are one of the many in that space. And I think that would be quite an achievement for a company of our size. We want to be niche. We don't want to be doing things for every manufacturer. We'd rather work with a few manufacturers who have larger plans rather than with multiple manufacturers, each one doing 1 or 2 events a year.
Do you plan to get into international events also, going overseas, doing some?
I personally think that we are extremely blessed and lucky that we've got a country like India as our home base, where we've got variety of terrain. We've got the length and the breadth and the coastlines and the Himalayas and the Thar deserts and the tiger reserves and the northeast. I don't think in my lifetime I'll manage to exhaust these terrains. So I'm quite content operating here, and rather than trying to be an expert.
So was it more of passion driven or a business decision to get into motorsports?
Motorsport is not a business. Motorsport cannot be a business for, if anybody looks at motorsport as a business in India, it's not reached that stage yet. People are surviving, sustaining, but it cannot be your whole and soul, this thing. So for me personally, as I told you, I studied to be a chartered accountant, and then I had a full-time job. I used to work for a bank and I used to be an investment banker. I worked for 15 years. And on the side, I used to rally once in a while, go and be involved in motorsport and stuff. And then one day I took a decision that this is what I'm passionate about, and I'd like to do more in this space. But at the same time, try and do it properly, regularly, like a business. So we incorporated a private limited company, we funded it, we registered it with for all the taxation and everything required. And we've been running it properly like a commercial enterprise in the last 7 years. And we've achieved, whatever growth we've.
When did you first participated in a rally?
2006.
Okay. How young you were when you started driving?
I don't want to get arrested, but I started driving when I was 16. I of course competed much later in life.
Thank you.